y'all doing on today, you guys? It is Wednesday and it is November the 6th. Woo woo. This year is almost over, you guys. Like, can you believe it? Like, the year is really almost over. So I hope that you guys are actually having a great day. Thank you guys so much for coming and listening to this podcast. I know that this is a newer podcast, but thank you guys so much for actually coming, listening, and just rating the podcast. I really and truly like appreciate it, like from the bottom of my heart. Thank you guys so much. The podcast is going good. I'm not gonna lie, like the podcast is going good. I actually look forward to actually recording the podcast and stuff like that. So just really me coming talking and things of that nature. Today was a little bit difficult because it was let me stop before. Yeah, let me say this. Let me just go ahead and give the disclaimer. I know that I said last week that we were going to have a guest, and we don't have a guest this week, y'all. And like, I'm just going to stop telling you guys that we're having a guest until I actually have the thing recorded, because like, honestly, you guys, I don't want you guys to think that I'm a liar. And that's what I feel like, because every time, like for the last 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, you guys, we're going to have a guest and all of this. And then I get here and we don't have a guest. It's always something that's coming up to where, with me and the sex coach that I wanted to bring on, it's always something that's coming up to where we cannot record. And it's just like, oh my God. This week, okay, so I reached out to her. We scheduled a date. We were supposed to record the podcast on Sunday, like had a location, everything cool. We're gonna do this. Boom, we're gonna do this. So we set up the time, and so I go to Shreveport because that's where she's at, right? Go to Shreveport, get there Saturday night, stay at my house in Alexandria. From where my office is to Shreveport is 2 hours away. So get there, got my laptop, going through stuff, taking stuff out at the house, getting prepared for tomorrow, for Sunday, to record the podcast. Y'all, how about I left the microphone in Alexandria? Bruh, like, I was like, oh my God. Okay. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna try to. I was like, don't freak out because you don't have your mic, right? You're a podcaster. You left your mic 2 hours away. So how is that gonna happen? So I was like, you know what? Don't freak out. We're gonna go to Best Buy. We're gonna go see if they have some microphones and all of that. Well, look up the microphones at Best Buy, Walmart. These microphones are any bit from 85 on up. I'm like, are y'all serious? And the one that they had in store was $169. I was just like, I love my folks over there at Southern Therapy Podcast, but your girl ain't got no $169 to go and buy one mic just to use. Like, the mic that I'm using now is I'm gonna end up getting another mic. But the one I'm using now, I got this off of Amazon for $24.99. So like, oh, so we did not record because unfortunately your girl did not have her microphone. So, and I felt bad because I had to cancel yet again on her. And so, she was just like, oh, no problem, no inconvenience. I was like, I'm so sorry, if for the inconvenience, and not being able to actually record, the podcast and stuff like that. And I told her that I left my microphone, and she was just like, oh, no problem. She was like, just let me know when you're ready to record and we can get it done. And it's just like, I felt bad. I felt like I feel like I let you guys down. Then I'm wasting her time. Like, I do not. My biggest pet peeve is people wasting my time, and I do not like for folks to waste my time, nor do I like to waste other people's time. And so, that's kind of how I felt with her. But she was just like, she was super duper cool about it. So, yeah, that's that. So the next time I have a guest, I say that I'm going to have a guest. Like the podcast would already be recorded. I would tell you the day before. I mean, I would tell you the week before, and the following week. Like I would just have to just drop the podcast because I'm already gonna have it recorded. Like I'm not going to be like just beforehand because a lot of stuff can happen. So I'm sorry, y'all, I'm rambling, but this is what I'm learning in this whole podcast game. This is a whole different feel. So, but yeah, but nonetheless, y'all, I hope that y'all are having a great week. I have two things that I wanted to discuss today, and I'm not really sure how this podcast is going to go, because like I'm still searching through like what all I want to say and what all I want to talk about today. But the one thing that I really want to talk about is overcoming your emotions. Like, you guys, our emotions, like as human beings, like our emotions are extremely powerful, and it leads us to go right, to go left. And so like our emotions, I did not realize how strong our emotions was until, and how emotionally driven we are as people, until I became a therapist. And so and I listen to people, and I sit back, and because I am not emotionally connected to them, like I'm a third person, like the story that you're telling me is your story. And so I just sit back and I be like, oh, it's simple, like you need to communicate. And so I used to tell people, like, it's simple, like your communication, like we got to work on your communication. Like, what is the barrier? And then I realized it's our emotions that's the barrier. So I was just like, okay, so our emotions are the barrier. Like, how can we, like, let me drop my own mask today. How am I, girl, y'all, how am I emotionally driven, and how can I change that? So if you follow me on any types of social media, you will see that I am on a social media detox, right? And so I started the social media detox on November the 5th, and I'm going to go for 21 days. Because honestly, you guys, like, I realized that with my social media time, and I'm gonna tell you what prompted this in real life. You know how on Sundays, I'm not sure about anybody else, but on Sundays, if you have an iPhone, like they send you just automatically, they send you a report of your screen time, right? And so I get my little screen time report on Sunday, and y'all, the screen time was horrible, and it broke it down to social media, to being productive. Like, my social media time was through the roof. And I was just like, okay, I need to scale back on social media. So that started prompting it. Then just the stuff that we intake, like the stuff that we see, like the in Alexandria, in Louisiana, period. The governor race is so important. It's such an important race right now, because like it tells which way our state can go for even with the presidential election and stuff like that. And so our governor right now is a Democrat. And so, just seeing all of that, just seeing people talk negatively, and it's too much. It was just too much for me. And so like I wasn't disconnecting from any of the negativity. Like, and when I say negativity, like I mean whether it's just stuff that's just, it's not positive vibes. It's not sending positive vibes my way. And so, I will already deal with clients and stuff like that, listen to clients' problem and have that on my shoulders. Then I go to social media, I look at that. So it was like, who was pouring into me that was positive? Nothing. Nothing was pouring into me positive. A few memes here or there and stuff like that. And so like I realized, I was just like, what's pouring into me? Like I'm running, I'm being positive, but I'm not refilling myself with any positivity, and nobody else is doing it. So I'm like, okay, take a step back and really do some self evaluation and do some self correction. And what I mean by self correction, I mean that God is going to reveal to me how I need to correct it, and He's going to help me. Like I'm not self correcting. Like I don't have that much power for myself to correct some of the things that I do. Like I know I need true deliverance from God, and I know that I need God to help some of these strongholds that I myself have. And so the only way that I can know that I can break these strongholds and change this mindset, like last week, you guys, y'all remember when I talked about that I have a struggle mindset, like, and I'm trying to come out of that. So like the only thing that I know, the only person that I know that could actually help me, to destroy that is God. So, so I was just like, I'm just going to take a step back from social media, and I'm just going to, just focus, try to get my life back together, y'all, child. I just, phew, my God, try to get my life together. So, I was just like, I'm taking a step back, and I'm actually, when I realized that nobody was pouring into me that was like super positive and stuff like that, and it's my responsibility to have somebody to pour into me. It's my responsibility. So I decided to, just really start reading my Bible more, really start watching, more sermons, really start journaling more too. I'm a big person on journal. Like I tell all my clients, like, y'all need to journal, 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 journal. But, so I started doing those types of things, like really just pouring into my own, really not necessarily pouring into my own self, but really making sure I get the positive things that I need in my life versus the negativity and stuff like that. And so, it's been a cool like, couple of days, like without social media. I'm gonna be honest, it has been a little difficult. I'm like, oh my God, I want to know like what's going on, in the world, because right now I feel like I really am in like a little isolation. I don't watch TV. So I don't know why I don't watch. Well, I do. I don't really have cable. When I got rid of cable, like I just stopped watching TV altogether. Like I may watch a show here or there, but I stopped watching TV. I really do not watch TV. So I really don't watch the news because the news is horrible at times. It's just so much, so much, so much, so much that goes on. So it's like, I have to, how am I getting my current events? I'm not getting my current event. I'm not on Facebook where I get my current events from. Talk about me all you want. But, so like, I feel like I'm in isolation. I feel like that I'm disconnected from the world. And honestly, it has not been bad. I mean, of course, I picked up my phone wanting to go to the Facebook app and wanted to go to Instagram, but I mean, after I realized that because I deleted the apps too off my phone. After I realized what I was doing, I was just like, oh no, you can't do that. You can't go there. You can't do that. So it has been okay. And honestly, like when I go on cruises, like that's what I look forward to, is actually being able to disconnect from social media. So I'll finally get into the groove of things and just remain out here by myself and just really just do some self evaluation, being honest with my own self and some of the things that I need to correct, and all of that other great stuff. So, but nonetheless, that's what I got going on, y'all. I'm doing a whole little social media detox and just really spending time with myself and trying to understand myself a little bit more and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on right now as well. So, I want to actually talk about I know I talked about emotions in the beginning, right? So, here are a few ways that I thought about how to really like overcome your emotions, overcome your feelings. And the reason why I came up with these, because I had to do them yesterday. Like, y'all, on Tuesdays is usually when I drive back to the office. And when I mean by driving back to the office, like my house is 2 hours away from my office. So I usually drive back on Tuesdays, right? So I drove back yesterday, and like I drove back later than normal because usually on Tuesdays I have a 10 o'clock appointment. And so that means that I have to get up earlier. Where yesterday I did not have a 10 o'clock appointment. I had like a 1 o'clock appointment. So I left a little bit. I slept later. I left a little bit later. I think I ended up making it here like at 12. So I get here, I pull up, and I'm like, oh my God, y'all. I was like, I'm so exhausted. And so I'm sitting in the car like I need to take a nap before my first appointment. I just need to rest. And it was just I. And so I'm sitting in the car like with my eyes closed and I'm like, are you really tired, Danielle? Like, are you really exhausted? And so I started pondering, I started thinking, and so I started challenging the emotion. I started challenging the feeling of being exhausted. And so I was just like, am I really exhausted? So I was just like, nah, maybe. I don't know. So then I was just like, well, you got 8 hours worth of sleep. You left later than normal. And I just started running it to myself. And so I was just like, well, maybe I'm not exhausted. Like maybe I'm not exhausted. And so I get up, get out the car, come into the office and start, like working and stuff like that. And I just kept going. Like I wasn't exhausted. Like the thought just came to my mind. And even though I felt like I was tired, like just physically feeling like I'm tired, but in actual reality, like I wasn't. So I started really challenging these emotions and challenging these feelings, right? So that's what I want you to do. I want you, and when the feeling, the thought comes to your mind and stuff like that, and you're aware of it, like I really want you to challenge it. I really want you to ask questions and be like, are you really tired? Or, like if you're angry, like what are you angry about? Like let's really, a lot of times people come to me, a lot of times when people say, oh, he or she need anger management. And so we sit down and we talk. And so a lot of times people are angry at other folks and the other person don't even know what they done. And so it's just like I really ask people to be like, let's really look at your anger and let's really see, do you really have a valid reason to be mad at somebody or to be angry? Or better yet, why do you give people so much control over you? And so I really, and sometimes when we get down to the bottom of it, it's like I tell people, you have the authority to give yourself permission to feel a certain way. Like you have the authority to stop it, you have the authority to feel that way. And so it's just like when you start questioning those emotions to figure out if they're true, and then when you figure out that they're not true, that's when you take authority over your feelings and keep on pushing and be like, nah, let's just go ahead and get this done and get this knocked out. Because a lot of times that's what the devil uses as a distraction to keep us away from our purpose. Okay, so like I could have easily sat in the car and took my 1 o'clock appointment, or I could have easily went to my mom's house and took a nap to my 1 o'clock appointment and not do the things that I needed to do in the office, like do paperwork, like prepare for the 1 o'clock appointment, like all of these different types of stuff that help me be productive. But if I would have listened to my feelings, if I would have listened to the thought that, oh, you really are exhausted, I wouldn't have gotten none of that done. So that would have pushed me behind. And I know that this example may be so simple, but in actuality, it's what happens a lot of the times. And so like we succumb to our emotions and our feelings. We don't challenge them a lot of the times. We just be like, oh, okay, I'm upset or I'm tired, or like we don't even challenge them. We don't even ask questions of ourselves. So like that's what I want you to do. Overcoming your emotions. Like first step, really ask yourself, like question yourself, Like are you really tired? Do we really have a reason to be angry? And a lot of time people just want to be angry just to be angry. And it's just like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not finna be angry just because, and so it's just like really start questioning those emotions. Like, just be like, okay, do I got a reason to be mad? Do I got a reason to be, frustrated and all this other kind of stuff? And just really question them. And then, if they are not valid reasons, take authority, take control over their emotion, and do what you need to do. Okay? So, boom, get that together. And then, like I said, they are just a distraction. A lot of times, a distraction to stop us from doing what we need to do and pushing through and all that great stuff. So, don't let it distract you. And then, the third point, a lot of times the emotion is not even if you really let the emotions, like, if you really, let me see how I want to put this. Okay, so if you really challenge the emotion and you see that, okay, it's inadequate, like, I'm not really tired, and you keep on pushing and you give yourself, like, you take authority and you be like, no, we're going to go do X, Y, and Z. By the time you start doing X, Y, and Z, like, the time that you feel like you're exhausted, like, it's not even a long time span. It's probably like about 5 minutes of you feeling the exhaustion, and then, like, you are going on about your business and doing your stuff. So, like, the emotion, that's why I tend to say that a lot of times that our emotions are deceitful, because of the simple fact is that if I can push myself to keep on going and take authority over that feeling and keep on going, 5 minutes later, I'm going to be happy again. So that lets me know that I really wasn't exhausted. And I hope that you guys are following this. Because I'm trying to make sure, like, it's coming to me as I'm talking. So I really hope you guys actually understand what I'm saying. I'm saying that our emotions are deceitful. I'm saying question your emotion, and make sure if it's valid. Now, if you then work 12 hours one night and you trying to get up at 9 o'clock, if you done work, 12 hours from 12 p to 8 a.m. and you got to go somewhere for 9 o'clock, like that, yeah, and you feeling exhausted, yeah, that's true. You are exhausted. But in my example, like, I shouldn't have been exhausted. Why was I exhausted? What I done? What did I do to make me become physically exhausted? I didn't do anything. So, that's what I mean about really questioning it, making sure that it's not valid. If it's not valid, then you yourself take authority over yourself and keep it going, keep it pushing, and know that most of the time that was just a distraction to keep you off your game. So, let's see. I'm trying to make sure I got all my little pep talks and stuff like that. So yeah, that's all I got, y'all. Overcoming our emotions and things of that nature, realizing that a lot of times that our emotions are not accurate. Like, they can be totally deceitful at times. So check yourself before you wreck yourself. I don't know the rest of it, but nonetheless, y'all, I hope that y'all are actually having great day. This is actually the end of the podcast. Like, I don't have much else to talk about. I just want to talk about how I overcame my emotions, and like how it really was an eye opener for me. Like, yesterday was really an eye opener. I was just like, I got in here before I know it. Like, it's like my 1 o'clock is getting ready to walk through the door, and I'm looking like, you really wasn't tired. So I'm still like energetic, like ready for session, like, how you doing and all this other kind of stuff. And so, like, I really wasn't exhausted like I had told myself, like I felt in the beginning. I really wasn't exhausted. It was just a distraction to keep me from doing what I needed to do or whatever. So, but nonetheless, y'all, check yourselves And that's all I have. Next week, if y'all have any topics and stuff like that that you guys want to send in to me to talk about, by all means, send them to me. You can email me at southerntherapypodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's southerntherapypodcast@gmail.com. And I will do my best to talk about it, to discuss it. I will start having guests on the podcast very soon, and just to really just start getting other people's perspective and for me to learn. I am a big component now of learning different types of things and from other people. Like I want to I met this lady, and her religion was very different than mine. And I was just like, really, And so we kind of talked about that a little bit. And so like it was different, but some of the stuff that we do as Christians, they do too as well. So I was just intrigued by what her religion was, and like she was so intrigued cuz she was like, "Well, you're not forcing your religion on me." And I was just like, "No, like God is a gentleman. God does not even force himself on us. So why would I force my religious beliefs on you? Like you have a choice. We all have a choice. We all have a choice to make the decision." So, and so, we just talked. She was just like, you're about one of the nicest Christians I never met. And so I was just like, really? Just looking kind of crazy. But she was like, yeah. She was like, you didn't judge me. And I was like, oh. But so I just wanted to say that I don't know how I got off on it, y'all. But nonetheless, y'all, I'm finna go. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, rate this podcast. Like I said, if there's anything that you guys want to discuss on the podcast, by all means, please go ahead and just send them to me at southerntherapypodcast@gmail.com, and I will make sure to talk about them on the podcast. Also, if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, also email me and let me know that you want to be a guest on the podcast, and we can bring you on to the podcast and stuff like that. And I will talk to y'all later. I guess it's time for me to go back into my isolation. And I will see you guys. Well, I won't see y'all, but I'll talk to you guys on next Wednesday. Bye later. Holla. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Again, take control over yourself. You have the authority. Don't give your power to anybody else. You keep your authority. Bye, you guys.